Hi, hello, welcome to a new episode. This time it's not a gaming episode, it's a reaction episode. I will react to Geography Now Afghanistan. It's the very first video about Geography Now, about the country he did. So, alphabetically, in the English language, is the first country in the present day. Maybe there will be at some point a country which comes before Afghanistan, like AB or I don't know. But yeah, now it's Afghanistan. Geography now Afghanistan. It's just 7 minutes long. It was still very different than the episodes which it currently is producing. Like in the moment Vietnam, I will definitely react to the Vietnam episode because I had a girlfriend there in Vietnam. So I'm very interested in what he has to say about this country, and I can also say a little bit about it because I visited the country twice, so I can say a little bit first-handed. And yeah, let's see. Geography now, Afghanistan. Let's start. I just know it is also sometimes called the graveyard of empires because the different empires throughout history, or at least in the last 200, 300 years, tried to conquer Afghanistan and it never worked. There were empires in the past which ruled over Afghanistan, but the recent attempts to conquer Afghanistan failed, like the British, the Russians, the Soviets, and the Americans. Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Geography Now. We're going to go through the list.
Moment, I'm not sure if it's okay, it's 100%. Let's start. 1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Geography Now. We're going to go through the list of all the internationally recognized sovereign nations of the world, and we're going to do it alphabetically, which means our first episode is going to be on Afghanistan.
It's time to learn geography now!
That's the intro song. I hope you liked it. I worked really hard recording it with my friend Bill. So, today's going to be Afghanistan. I'm actually really glad we're getting this country covered because it's a very complex and deep country and we can't cover all of it in 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to do my best. Before we get into anything...
So he tried to do everything in below 10 minutes at this time. Nowadays, the episodes are always 40, 50 minutes long, so it's quite different than in the beginning. But interesting to see the history of the episodes. I already reacted to a lot of countries, but there are of course still many left, and I will also react to maybe all of them at some point. But yeah, let's continue it first.
Though, let's dissect the flag. The Afghani flag is a tricolor band of 3 different colors, red, black, and green. The red representing the blood of those who fought for Afghanistan, the black representing the obscure and difficult past that they've had, and the green representing hope and a future and Islam as it is the state religion. In the middle of the flag is the Afghani emblem. Now this is where things get a little difficult, so bear with me. On the emblem is a mosque with 2 little miniature Afghani flags on the side, which by the way makes Afghanistan one of the only 2 countries in the world that has a flag with miniature versions of its own flag on its own flag. On the side are sheaves of wheat. On the top is the Shahada, or the Muslim creed. On the bottom is the name of Afghanistan, written in Arabic. And on top of that is the Arabic year of 1298, written in Arabic numerals, which also in the standard Gregorian calendar is 1919, which was the year that Afghanistan was relinquished from its British protectorate status and became an internationally recognized sovereign nation known as Afghanistan. In terms of its political geography,
you will not notice this, but I have to make the audio a little bit more quiet. It's quite loud for me, but yeah, if I edit the video, I will make it comfortable for you guys, so you will not hear it as loud as I did. But yeah, interesting. In Central Asia, landlocked, and it is quite interesting border situation in the east, where it touches China and separates Pakistan from Tajikistan, I think. Very interesting.
Afghanistan is located in the Central Asian region, surrounded by 6 other countries.
There in the east, you see this little thing which goes out of the country. It's a panhandle in English, and there are a few of them in the world, and they're all very interesting, and the history behind it. The British controlled the south of the British India, and the Russians in the north, and they used Afghanistan as a buffer zone, as a neutral, independent country to separate their realms from one another.
Technically 7 if you consider the Jammu Kashmir region part of India, but Pakistan will tell you it totally is not, but we'll discuss that in another video. Now when you look at the shape of Afghanistan, it just kind of looks like a big amorphous blob in the middle of nowhere. But then when you look at the northeast, you start to see this long, narrow stretch of land that kind of reaches out into the Hindu Kush mountain range. And you might ask yourself, why does Afghanistan have that long panhandle?
He will explain it now as well, I think.
And the reason why is kind of technically because England and Russia. See, back in the 1800s, the British and the Russians were competing against each other to see who could amass the largest global empire in terms of colonization and influence. Russia took over what are now known as many of the Central Asian countries as Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, while the British took over many of the South Asian regions such as India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Now when it came to Afghanistan, things were a little difficult because the Afghani people really did not want to be taken over. It was also a really crucial point on the map because essentially it was the area where the British and Russian empires got really close to each other. Eventually the British kind of took over at the end of the 19th century, much to the reluctance of the Afghanis. However, they still had to distinguish the borders between Afghanistan and the rest of the other nations in the empire. When it came to Pakistan, or back then British India, the British decided to use the Durand Line, and then when it came to the Russian Empire, they decided to use the Panj and Palmyra rivers. Now the thing is, when both the empires drew these lines, they technically didn't touch each other in the northeast and left a huge, long, narrow buffer zone, which is now today known as the Wakhan Corridor. By default, it was given to Afghanistan, and to this day, the Wakhan Corridor plays a very crucial role in Afghanistan's geography because for a very, very small 20 or so mile border at the very end of the Wakhan Corridor is a border with China. Now, I know 20 miles doesn't really sound like much, but in the world of geopolitical analytics, that can be a very important thing.
Indeed, for example, the very tiny amount of sea or coastline that Bosnia and Herzegovina has, where Croatia cuts off nearly all of the access to the ocean they have, but the little tiny bit they have, but Croatia built a bridge over a bay, and they can't access the ocean with big ships, at least with tiny and small ones at least. So, not landlocked Bosnia and Herzegovina, but it's also not very big, they can't access with big ships their harbors.
Now when it comes to physical geography, Afghanistan has a large, vast array of different kinds of landscapes. However, the large portion of the country is actually mountainous, with the Hindu Kush mountain range dominating the northeast regions and the central regions of the country.
I heard that, I watched some videos about how people visit Afghanistan, some videos where, of course, before the Taliban took over, and I think I watched one video where Bored and Bankrupt, I think, a Russian YouTuber visited Afghanistan also after the Taliban took over, so it is possible, and I would definitely also like to visit it. It is probably not easy, but I hope with time it becomes easier, because I want to visit most of the countries in the world, and Afghanistan is no exception to it. A very interesting country. Of course, it's not a country where I would probably like to live, but as a tourist visiting it, it would be interesting. Yeah, the Taliban also don't change anything about this, of course. There is also a very thin, similar panhandle in Namibia, which stretches into the east as well. A different explanation, of course, but I like this kind of weird border panhandles, as things they are called, very much. It's there's also a video from Real Life Law which explains some of them, and maybe I have a link in the description, or you just Google Real Life Law borders and you will find it. And I will also probably make some more reactions in the future. If you are interested, please watch my playthrough of Trails into Reverie. There's hopefully a link in the description. I'm playing this in the moment, and I have never played it before, so it's my first playthrough. It's blind in this way, and I talk to every person, I read every book, and so 100% playthrough. I intend this. Maybe I fail in some small ways, but I try to talk always in all situations to everyone, and yeah, if you're interested, please check it out.
In fact, the snowmelt from these mountains accounts for the vast majority of the complex, immense river systems that flow throughout Afghanistan, allowing their country to have lush green valleys where most of their agricultural sector can be found. Now, despite all the rivers and water reservoirs, Afghanistan still remains a relatively dry nation. In fact, the further south you go, closer to the Kandahar region, almost immediately after you pass the Dori River, you hit the Sistan Basin, which is basically what geologists speculate may have actually been a large body of water at some point, but is now
It definitely looks like a lake, as he's also wrote on the video. If you look on this from space, it looks like this, but no water, and I mean you could maybe find shells or other things which lived there a long while ago. I'm not sure if they found things, but if people speculate that it might be a lake, maybe it's because of some um something in the dirt, in the sand, in the floor, in the ground, which they found, which indicates a past lake. I'm not sure. If you know about something about this, then please tell me in the comments.
A dry, desolate desert wasteland. Nonetheless, with the arable land that it does have, Afghanistan is still able to produce some of the world's best produce, including pomegranates, almonds, apricots, and poppy. That's right, for the past few hundred years, Afghanistan has been a leading nation in opium.
I heard about this as well. That's something through the entire war situation where the United States invaded the country, and I think many people know at least this about Afghanistan, that their poppy is growing there quite good also.
Opium production. In terms of its demographics, Afghanistan has just about 31 million people, or roughly a little bit smaller than the size of Canada. The slight majority of these people identify as ethnically Pashtun, or people from the Pashtun tribe. They speak the Pashtun language known as Pashto. Now, there are some other ethnic minorities like Uzbeks and Tajiks and Hazaras. However, the interesting thing is that the majority of the people, about 85%, including the Pashtuns, speak Dari. Dari is actually a dialect of the Persian language Farsi. So that means someone who speaks Dari can actually interchangeably travel between Afghanistan and Iran without really having any trouble being understood. Interesting side note, there is one last living Jew living in all of Afghanistan.
I heard about this before. The Taliban even I think put him in prison at first, and then they released him again because he was so annoying. Something like this. There are stories about this, and there's also a video from Hasnabi, which I may link in the description if I again remember this. But yeah, it's very interesting. This story one. Very interesting.
Even joking, his name is Zablon Simintov. He lives in Kabul, he used to own a restaurant, and he maintains the last synagogue in all of Afghanistan. The locals there know him just as that one Jew guy, and they're cool with him. They're just like, hey Zablon. Which brings us to our final segment, the friend zone.
Okay, this will be interesting. I'm not sure if Afghanistan has any in the moment with the Taliban government any official diplomatic relations with another country. At first, I think there were no relations, but I'm not sure if this changed over the last year or so. I think some embassies, like the Russian, Chinese, also embassy, remains their operation in Kabul because they made some deals with the Taliban. But I'm not sure if anyone already officially recognized their government as a legitimate government of Afghanistan. But yeah, I will maybe check this out, or you will tell me in the comments.
Afghanistan has a very interesting way in how it interacts with other countries. Now, because of the whole language thing, Afghanis and Iranians have typically kind of had somewhat of a cultural similarity and resonance with each other. However, they also have had some controversy. Now, Pakistan and India are the biggest business partners of Afghanistan. However, again, there's some drama there as well. Now, when it comes to their best friend, Afghanistan considers Turkey their best friend. They've cooperated with each
I don't understand this, but I mean, it doesn't make any geographical sense in the moment for me, but I'm curious.
other peacefully for over 100 years, and there's an old Afghani saying, no Afghani was ever killed by a Turkish bullet, and no Afghani trained by a Turk ever betrayed his country. So in conclusion, I guess this is the last segment, never mind. Putting aside all of the modern day controversies, Afghanistan is actually a very beautiful country with a very rich and vibrant, yet often hidden cultural and historical past that very often goes overlooked. And that's our objective here at Geography Now. We want to shine light on the obscure and put on display the often neglected yet fascinating attributes of every region of the world. We hope you did you justice. Stay tuned, Albania is coming next.
Interesting. It's the very first episode he ever did about this, series of covering all countries in the world, and I am very pleased about this. I like it very much. I want to travel to Afghanistan at some point. Of course, I want. I don't know when or if at all, but I would like to. And I'm curious about if it will be possible. And yes, there are many more things. I will make more videos in the future about Geography Now and reactions, of course, but also maybe about politics. If you're interested, follow me on Twitch. Maybe I'll make a stream there at some point. And otherwise, please check out the playthrough of this game. I hope you will watch some videos and will like it, and give it a chance. See you next time.